It's a really remarkable feeling opening the door and walking in to see not only the solo show of 85 original pieces of art that you've created, but also the debut novel and book launch for this whole entire project. The Predictably Unpredictable Tales from the Land of Ardithian is the project that I have worked on with heart and soul and passion for the last 18 years. The idea of the Land of Ardithian was planted in my heart when my husband shared that phrase with me, and as a painter, I painted faster than I could write. But the imagination and the idea of a parallel world that existed in my head and in my heart and in my imagination never left me. Over the years, as I painted and created characters, I would write a poem for each one. And originally, I intended to create a book of poems about this story. But last November, I realized that I needed to know more of the story. So I committed to writing the novel and decided I would write the first 2 chapters. And if I could do that, it would be the start to the seed of the story that was planted. What I didn't expect was, as soon as I started writing the novel, I couldn't stop. I had to commit to seeing this project to fruition. And it has changed my life completely. The show that you see here are the 86 original works of art, all tied to the Land of Ardithian. There's a few inspiration pieces, such as the one in the center here, Arlie of Ardithian with rainbow-colored hair. She was the first iteration of Arlen. Here are the paperback and the hardback book that I was able to print because of my Kickstarter. These are the illustrations that appear in the book. And I could not be more proud of the body of work that I have built here, from an absolute desire to impact the human heart of others, but especially children. The first book, Penwondertive, is about 3 unsuspecting siblings and several extraordinary friends who find themselves thrown into this adventure in a parallel world that they didn't know existed. They meet some really incredible humans and characters that take them under their wing, and they quickly learn that this terrible, horrible family called the Ashises are out to get not only them, but the animals, and to destroy the world. It is very much reminiscent of, predictable fairy tales and stories, but it's absolutely my take on the Ardithian spin of it. It's a fantasy book for middle grade readers, but it's also written for anyone, especially adults who love fantasy stories and also who believe that we are meant for greater things. As I build my characters and as I use my imagination to come up with these ideas, one of the things that I always consider is, how can I create this character imperfectly but beautifully? I have this belief that we are all imperfect, but we're all so deeply valuable. And I wrote that belief into my characters. The story is kind of mirrored with details from the life that my family has lived, my husband and I. There's a deep tie to the Gulf Coast and Mobile, and growing up along the coast with Mobile Bay and the city of Mobile and Dauphin Island and Fairhope. These characters are deliciously odd and distorted and different. And it was really important to me to allow myself to create the characters that I believed to be relevant and important, but also delightful and interesting. Minterton and Arlen here are the main characters, along with Fernicki, who narrates the first book, the first intro. But the Wooglians and the Ardithians, such as Princess Fairy Fart Blossom and Sir Flatulancelot, it's their wedding day. They cut the cake, they cut the cheese. It's a riot of a good time. So the series itself will be a combination of 5 books, all tied around the journey that these children take and these characters take, but it's also based on my fascination with energy. And the magic system in the world has to do with these, what I call vemispheres, or these round orbs that contain unique powers and energies, and when they're crushed, it releases them. I also stay fascinated with energy, and I wanted to render my paintings and my imaginative take on what the energy in this world would look like if we could visually see it. As humans, we can only see light energy, but in the land of Ardithian, energy has form. It has form in these spheres, and it has form in the atmosphere. So the abstract part of the show is what the air would look like depending on what event is taking place in the story and geographically where these are. Being able to write that idea in a children's book was technically very challenging, but I absolutely loved it. And some of these paintings, I show how the energy of the abstract overlays into the character painting, like Princess John V. Avian. The energy changes in color, in form, in structure, and in shape. And it all works together to create this wildly imaginative world called the Land of Ardithian, which exists side by side the world that we know. The characters travel through what I call lightways, and those would be lighthouses. So the lighthouses geographically here along the coast in Alabama and Mississippi are how I begin the series. And I'll tie my fascination of lighthouses around the world into the next 4 books. The scope of this project was quite audacious, but this is an example of a human being that decided, I had a dream and I had a vision of this story, and I was unwilling to let it go, and I had to see it to fruition. And this is the product of that absolute drive. The Predictably Unpredictable Tales from the Land of Ardithian, and Pen Wondertive is book 1. There are 2 openings for the show, October 10th from 5 to 7, and October 11th during Artwalk. Come join